Well, the Shelter FootyCast back live from BackChat Studios, not from Bali. It's not BackChat and Shelter does Bali. We're back. It's good to be back. I've been off social media for a long time, and I'm not joined by Mark Reddings. I genuinely think we may have lost him in Manhattan. And I am joined, though, by a very good friend of the program, Busselton's own, Adam Papalia. Hello, mate.
G'day, Scully. Good to be here. Good to be back in the chair that Skeet's away. The thing is, with Skeet is, and I know you call him Sleepy Joe, and he's been over there in the US.
Mate, he was out the front of Trump Tower.
I know. They could have had another debate right there, those two. But I've never seen Skeet post anything on social media ever before in my life. And all of a sudden, he's gone on holidays, and it's like he's the first person to ever go to the USA, and now he's posting photos from everywhere. But it doesn't post any other time, and now he's like, "Oh, has anyone ever heard of this place called New York before?"
Mate, it is that funny. He did it like thanks to Paywise and the Shelter FootyCast out the front of the Trump Tower. It was like,
that was good.
I know. It's very, very funny. And of course, we both work together over at 6PR, Wide World of Sports.
Yes.
You still have me back. I've been away for a little while.
You have been, yeah.
So have you, though.
I had a week off.
I haven't been away for a month. I've had a week off too.
Feels like it.
Yeah, I've had two Tuesdays.
2 Tuesdays, so 2 weeks off doing Wide World of Sports. But yes, continuing to roll on through the summer. And
good.
Getting stuck into still, there's plenty of footy news bubbling around. But if anyone wants to check it out, you can tune in 6 o'clock on weeknights on 6PR.
You can grab you and I on Tuesdays, which will be good fun. So basically, we're doing a rehashed Wide World of Sports here on the Shelter FootyCast. I do want to get into a bit of the trade news, and I might need you to catch me up on a bit of it, but I've got some thoughts on a few things going on. We are, of course, on Shelter FootyCast. On Instagram, footycast at backchatstudios.com.au. You can send us an email. So maybe we can, I don't know, there's some sightings of Skeeter out there. Maybe some American listeners can let us know if they have run into him. He's been in Boston. I do believe he's in Dan's paneling today. Is it Tennessee, Nashville, like those? That's where he is. Yeah, he's gone south.
Not near Florida, near the hurricane and stuff that's going on over there.
Doesn't Trump have a place down in?
Yeah, maybe he's gone from Trump Tower and Sleepy Joe's been invited to play golf down there.
No, I think he was very excited about the whole. He kept talking about the music scene, So just like you've never seen him post on socials, the closest thing I've seen Skeeter with music was his Alexa that he has in his man cave. And I was around at his house once, and he didn't realise that it could sort of hear him from one side of the room. So he would get up with his bourbon and Coke. He'd walk up to it and almost throttle Alexa. And, Alexa, play the Beatles. Alexa. And it's like, Alexa's like, yeah, I can fucking hear you, mate.
Just chill out, mate.
Yeah, great. So that's as much as I've seen from Skeeter with music. So I don't know, he's down south, some sort of country music and Western. I don't know. Let's get into some of the footy news.
Will we get a photo of him with like a cowboy hat on somewhere down there?
As a lot of the listeners know, both of Mark's daughters babysit our kids quite a lot, and I've been corresponding with Liv a little bit saying, hey, if you do happen to catch Skeet in an awkward moment in some sort of, i.e. getting changed in, did you see this? Manhattan, Central Park.
Right.
He was getting changed. He was half naked in Central Park, getting changed out of jeans into runners to do a walk. I don't know what he's doing. So we're going to hopefully get some of that. But let's get into some footy.
He didn't sneeze it. No, we haven't spoken about you yet. What have you been doing?
Well, that's a good point. So I was meant to go on the Kokoda track.
Yep.
It got cancelled. Still closed, by the way. It hasn't been closed for 14 years, and the locals decided to do some protests and get their money, which is probably well owed to them. 1 week out from us going. So cancelled that. I did consider going and doing some sort of other.
Because that was the discussion I was having with you, because you knew this was happening before grand final, which was the last time that I'd seen you. You're like, I've got two options. I'm either going to continue down the path of going to do a physical challenge and really testing myself and putting my mind to the limit and going as hard as I possibly can, or I'm going to go somewhere and just drink shelters for
Motel
a week.
Mexico.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I know which one you're going to do.
Well, look, I will say I cut social media for 10 days. I cut my phone for 5 and all electronics, so no TV, no nothing. I cut It's getting less and less, but I cut alcohol for 3 days. I cut speaking for 2.
So you cut alcohol during the day for 3 days?
No.
You're talking about?
Well, at night. I can't drink while I'm sleeping. But I did a bit of a detox of sorts. I'm feeling good. I read some Japanese philosophy. I lost my mind a little bit in Bali, but I had a good break. It was good.
Get us some Japanese philosophy before we finish up this podcast.
Right, I'll see what I can do.
Read for us.
I'll see what I can do in Japanese.
Some words of wisdom that you've discovered during your spiritual
I enjoyed
retreat.
it. I needed a break, and I got one. Good. It just wasn't on the Kokoda track.
Yep.
Right? A very different mental and physical challenge. Motel Mexicola at 3:30 in the morning.
It is a challenge for some people, but a different type of challenge.
Will Schofield, Adam Papalia, Shelter FootyCast. Righto. All right. So the biggest news I can see since I've been away, perhaps, is John Worsfold returns to the West Coast Eagles. He joins a long line of former players and former champions to rejoin the club. We're talking Don Pike as CEO.
Yep.
Talking John Worsfold now as footy manager. We're talking Guy McKenna. I saw his name.
That's not confirmed, but potentially a development role there.
He'll be back. We're talking Shannon Hearn.
Yep.
He's head of fundamentals, I believe. Speaking to a few. He'll be very good in that role, by the way. Luke Shuey's already back there. Do you think I have a chance of returning to the football club?
I think it's jobs for the boys at the moment. So, anyone that's there, what's your relationship like with Pikey?
Well,
if you get on all right, pretty much write your own contract.
Gary Stocks maybe moving out of his role in media.
So you're going to take over the media communications department at West Coast?
Can't be that fucking hard. Now, John Worsfold, let's stay on him perhaps. It's funny how as time goes on, you reflect more and more fondly about your time with people. So clearly at times under Woosh's reign, like there was challenges with the way he coached or, he effectively had to step down as coach. So it wasn't all rosy and he's the biggest champion of all time. But taking that away, the positives of John Worsfold, having someone like him back at the footy club for mine is huge for West Coast. Like he drives standards and culture and he does that without... He doesn't have to rant and rave. He doesn't have to come in with this big blueprint of this is how we're going to do it. He's so, revered and respected within the footy club that having him back there for mine is a bloody brilliant move by Pikey.
Yeah,
you spoke to him.
We spoke to him on Tuesday on Whitewater Sports, and Glenn Jakovich was on with me that night as well, and we were joking him about what job he was going to get. Head of catering we went with because every time we get any food in the media box, Jacko just goes to town and eats
pies. He'll just be serving
sandwiches,
meat pies, sausage roll sandwiches,
small cut sandwiches, party pies, sausage rolls, all the like. So he was going to be head of catering, not necessarily head of nutrition, I don't think, but head of catering at West Coast.
He's still in good nick. Jack.
Certainly is. But yeah, John Worsfold coming back, I think it's the right appointment in terms of what the club needs right now. It's just that steadying influence to come in. And clearly it's an appointment that Don Pike trusts him. They're good mates. They get on well. So Don can step away from having to worry about the footy side of things and not having to get involved too much there and let John Worsfold come in and oversee that and give his opinion and reflections on what needs to actually happen to change in there. And then Don Pike can focus on the business side of things, which is what he should be doing as the CEO, even though he has a strong footy background himself. So I think that helps unblur the lines a little bit between that role for Don Pike. But for John Worsfold coming in, given his experience, I think of bringing... West Coast were at a low ebb when he first took over there and bringing them back up. When he went to Essendon, of course, he had to navigate that club through the scandal that they had then and losing all the players and trying to rebuild that team. So he's got lots of experience in that regard because West Coast at the moment, they need a lot to go right in a short space of time to get them back up and firing. Well,
so my first interactions with John Worsfold is 2006 was when I was drafted, and then 2007. This is a tumultuous time for the football club. Ben Cousins was ostracised and left the footy club in 2007.
Sacked.
Chris Judd, the captain, was traded.
It walked out,
right? So traded for Josh Kennedy, Chris Maston and Tony Knott. I've forgotten the man. And we then went on a 2008, 9, 10, rebuilding the culture. Won a wooden spoon, lost a wooden spoon. I can't really say won a wooden spoon, received a wooden spoon at the end of 2010. But the culture that, and I've spoken about this before, the culture that was set up, the almost the lines of feedback, what was expected of you, the training standards, all of that was set up for that big group of players through 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which was the group that goes on to win a premiership. So we're talking, myself, my year level, which was Mitch Brown and Eric McKenzie and those sorts of guys. Then you had, the Luke Shueys, the Nick Naranuis, the Andrew Gaffs, the Jack Darlings, but even the Matt Prittises, the Shannon Hearns, the Sam Butlers, the Beau Waters, all these guys, the Luke Shueys, Scott Selwood, that group of players was, and it was moulded and set up by John Worsfold, really. Yeah. So he will look to do a similar way. They're not rebuilding from a off-field drug culture, which is what that was about. They're rebuilding from an on-field performance culture, which is a big difference.
Yeah, I think it's almost been universal in terms of thinking that the appointment of John Worsfold going back in and being that overarching guiding person through the club has been positive, but it's not 100% positive. There's mostly, I think, probably Freo fans jumping on going, why is this bloke coming back? Because he was there and in charge as coach when all of that stuff was happening through 2006, 7, 8.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean,
so where do you sit on that? I mean, you were there, you know what went on and how he handled the club through that period. But in terms of he's had many opportunities in footy since then and a high quality person, but there's still that lingering in the background that was happening while he was at the club.
Yeah, it's interesting. I always defer, really, and this is not just that period, but everything, and you know me well, mate, that you make your own decisions in life, and yes, there is oversight and there is bosses and there is people to tell you what to do, but the culture that was created by the players involved. And John Worsfold, Trevor Nisbet and everyone else that was involved, everyone's got a part to play, but in the end, the decisions you make come down back to yourself. So, does John Worsfold create that culture? I don't think so. He also, I guess if you're talking about culture, he was a premiership coach. So it was a high performance culture too. I just think culture is driven by players. And whether that's on field or off field, you can have the right structures in place and you can have the right people around. And that's what West Coast are trying to do. And you need all of that, of course. But in the end, you need to want to buy into it yourself as a playing group, and you need to drive it from within. And that starts with, especially with young players, having a John Worsfold to go, hey, Ruben Jimby, this is the training standards required, or this is what you need to do to be a great leader. Because no one in the world would question that John Worsfold is a great leader. So that's why he's there. Shannon Hearn, great leader. Luke Shuey, great leader. These are all captains of the football club.
Yeah, I remember listening to him. You had him on the podcast last year, was it?
Yep.
And him talking. He's the kind of guy that kind of inspires you to run through a brick wall with the way that he talks and leads. And that's why I think this will be a really good appointment, because he'll be sitting over the top of everything.
Correct.
The interesting thing he said was he's not going to have a role on game day. So that is not part of it at all. It's purely there as a bit of a feedback mechanism and keeping an eye across all three arms of the club. So it's the AFL, the Waffle and the AFLW as well, and helping out all of those coaches and everything across. But clearly the men's program is going to be his mainstay. So he's not going to be sitting over the shoulder of Andrew McQualter.
It's interesting.
But he's going to be a sounding board for him during the week.
We don't know how those two work together, and they don't either, right? But you'd almost be silly, Andrew McQualter, to not use someone like what great resources Andrew McQualter has.
Yeah.
As a new first-time senior coach. Yes, he had his time at Richmond as an interim coach, but to have John Worsfold coached 2 clubs, Don Pike coached 2 clubs plus Sydney as well, and Woosh has coached at 4 different clubs. Who else you got? If Guy McKenna comes back, these are all head coaches. So to have that support structure around him.
Well, I think that's what they needed to do. Once they decided that they weren't going to get an experienced coach, you need to put someone else. And we've seen other clubs do that with young coaches, where they've come in and put a director of coaching in above who's probably a senior coach in the past that, most importantly, doesn't have aspirations to be a senior coach again.
Yes.
Because that's the only way it would derail things, is if you've got a guy sitting there who maybe still is a bit jaded and feels like he should still be a senior coach in a role like that.
Correct.
And is kind of waiting to see this person fail so they can swoop in and step in. But this is not the case with John Worsfold. He doesn't want to be a senior coach again. So he's there purely to try to help Andrew McQualter settle into the role and be there Probably and you know his leadership style a bit more than me, but probably waiting for Andrew McQualter to come to him and say, can you help me with this? Rather than him being overbearing and saying, do this, 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 and this.
Well, and he's not going to be, like you said, he's not going to be a senior coach again, and he knows that, and he would have no aspirations. So what a perfect thing to lean on. Have you heard any word on assistant coaches with Andrew McQualter? Like I said, I haven't really been around, but
that should be purely up to him.
That's what I mean. Quite often with these guys, you bring people in that you trust and work with, and so I look at players that he's played with before or people he's been around. So either assistant coaches he's coached with, a lot of great assistant coaches he's coached with are actually coaching their own sides. Obviously from Richmond, that Hardwick kind of bubble, Kingsley being one of those. There's a couple more from the Richmond stable. Lepich is one of those. But I wonder who he's looking. He'd be looking at a couple. Like Nick Del Santo was a teammate of his and has been coaching the AFLW, St Kilda team. I just wonder if Lee Montagna, who's now doing a lot of media work, I think that'd be difficult. But I wouldn't be surprised to see someone from his past come and work with him, because it'd be difficult to come and be a head coach and have, Luke Shuey, who from all reports is a great coach, but never worked with him before. If it's Guy McKenna, if it's Shannon Hearn, all these people. If it's Jared Schofield, Webby.
That's a tough one, Jared Schofield.
Yeah.
How does he stay there now if he's been overlooked for the head coaching role? Is that possible?
It probably is on him a bit. I mean, he's a West Australian. His family's back here now. Is he a career coach? He probably is getting that way, isn't he? Does he just look to the best opportunity? Is the best opportunity here at West Coast? It would be difficult, but I don't know how it sits. Now, this isn't just a West Coast podcast, but I think that's the most important thing off the top. Jack Graham joins West Coast on a 4-year deal.
Yep. I actually see that being really valuable for West Coast. I know a few people have shot it down. He hasn't played a lot of footy in recent years. He's been a bit injured, but
Premiership player.
Yeah, I just think the role he can come in and play, which clearly he would have been spoken to about, if he can roll into that midfield and play a more defensively minded role and allow Harley Reid to just go and be Harley Reid and do whatever he wants.
Jack Redden comes to mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, is that the similar looking
type
trade?
of thing? Yeah, you think of Tyson Stengline back in the day. Like, you're looking at those defensive-minded midfielders.
Is that what he is?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got more attacking attributes than that, but I think he's big, strong, can tackle, can go and do the hard stuff, which will allow Yo and Reid to actually flourish in what they do best, which is go and, push forward and kick goals and be a little bit more attacking. So I think in terms of balance in that midfield, I think Jack Graham helps, and they get him for
free,
nothing,
right?
for free.
Yeah. So you're not. Yeah, that's sort of how I look at it as well. Like a quality player, you're going to go and sign that for nothing, and they're going to have a bit on their table in regards to the trade period on Monday, all the way from Bali. I did speak about the fact they've got 3 draft picks in the draft at the moment. Now, sorry, they have 4 now with Jack Darling out the door, and I did see Jack's message to fans. I
hadn't seen Jack do an awful lot of media before.
Funnily enough, mate, exactly right. But I saw it and it made me feel, it was a strange feeling seeing it. We haven't really, it's like Scott Lycett, Premiership teammate of mine, sort of moved, but that was straight after the flag and kind of I was still playing. Haven't seen a lot of guys go and do that. Willie Rioli, of course, being one of them. But yeah, Jack being almost a 300-game player for West Coast and then seeing him, g'day Roos fans, it was a bit strange for me.
It's probably like how Hawthorn fans felt when Luke Hodge goes to Brisbane or Sam Mitchell goes to West Coast or Jordan Lewis goes to Melbourne. We got these absolute legends of the club. And obviously they had a lot of success there at Hawthorn, then going and pulling on a different club's colours.
So they had 67, I think, or 63 or 57, or something like that for Jack Darling.
In the 60s.
The Tom Barrass sort of situation, I said this on Monday, but I was talking to myself, over the pool at Bali. So it'd be interesting to just actually get some reaction.
1,000 Bintang shelters.
Surely West Coast. No, I was off beers. I told you that.
During daylight hours.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So, but Tom Barrass, I was drinking shelters over there, by the way, not Bintang. Surely West Coast holds Hawthorn over the barrel here and just cleans them out.
What else have they got though, Hawthorn?
Well, they can go and get it. They are desperate for Tom Barrass.
Yep.
We know that. They have publicly stated it. You can see the reason they lost their final was they didn't have a key back. And yes, Frost got injured before the game, but they didn't have someone that could go and do that. And Sicily had to go forward and all that stuff. They need Tom Barrass. He's contracted, 3 years left on his deal, whatever it is. Yeah, okay, well, let's all play nicely. But I'll use the example of Geelong. If this is Geelong aren't going, no worries, just a first rounder for Tom or just 2 first round. They should be completely cleaning Hawthorn out here. Future picks, it may not be picks this year and they may not have the picks this year to give, but they should be holding Hawthorn over the barrel and saying, give us this, and if you don't, we'll keep Tom or we'll trade him somewhere else. There'd be other teams interested as well.
Yeah.
If Tom's motivations are to get out of the football club, Sydney's always been very interested. I just think West Coast, if you look at Richmond's hand, Richmond were bad this year, so were West Coast. They could have 8 picks inside the top 25. Like,
they're going to have a heap.
Where are West Coast picks?
Yeah.
This rebuild.
That's what I think people wrestle with. If you're wanting to be traded away to a different club, if you go into a particular state, why is it only that club that you get to negotiate with?
Correct.
And same with players coming back to WA or going to South Australia. Like, there's 2 clubs in that town. Why is it only one that you're dealing with? Yes, I know that a lot comes into, okay, which club can fit them in the salary cap and actually meet the deal that the player wants and what they're actually chasing. But yeah, absolutely, West Coast should be valuing Tom Barrass as highly as they possibly can.
They should be getting 3 picks from him.
3?
Yep.
I think 3 might be a stretch, depending on where they're landed.
Tim Kelly was worth 3, right?
Yep.
The Geelong West Coast trade.
Younger.
It was 2 firsts and a second.
Younger player.
And then there was some other picks traded.
Yep.
Younger player, yes, but higher need. Hawthorn need Tom Barrass.
Well, they just got Josh Battle.
Yeah, I don't know about Josh Battle. I don't know if he's the guy they need. Good player. Have they got him for free? I think they have. Free agent.
They did, yeah.
Right.
They got the
ridiculous
compensation pick going.
Yeah, so you're going to go and get him, right? But he's not the guy they want. They want Tom Barrass. I just think they've got to keep going. Hey, let's move on from West Coast a little bit. I think they should.
Before we finish on that.
They should speak, yeah.
So Tom Barrass, the thing that, and speaking about this on radio on 6PR this week, the fans at West Coast are going to be livid if it's pick 14 they get from Hawthorn for Tom Barrass, which then goes immediately to Richmond for Liam Baker.
Correct.
And that's all that happens. So it's effectively Barrass out, Baker in, with no other extra compensation.
They need. That's what I mean.
They'll riot in the streets.
They need to trade Tom Barrass, West Coast, and they need Liam Baker plus 2 picks for that.
Yep.
Is my opinion. That's what they should be gunning for.
Yeah, but I don't think they should be giving up pick 14 for.
Well, if that's
Liam
the case,
Baker.
They need something in return.
Yeah. There needs to be more to that deal, whether it's another
a future
pick
first
coming back the other way or whatever's swapping.
I think they'll also they should split pick 3. I think they should go and get 2. They just don't have enough picks in this draft, which supposedly is deep and good. Pick 3, but pick 3 in Harley Reid's draft was Dersma, maybe. I think McCurch. I'm poor on that, but pick 3 wasn't Harley Reid, right? Harley Reid was a standout. They kept pick 1. They didn't split it because it was Harley Reid, and we can see why. Pick 3 this year isn't that player. They should go and get 2 of them. Pick 3, split it to 12 and 18 or whatever it is, 8 and 10.
Yeah,
go and
you
get
still
that.
want one inside the top 10 if you
Maybe.
can.
Yeah, correct. But I think 2's better than 1 in this regard. Enough about West Coast. I'm sick of them. Fremantle have added Damien Martin to join the football club as a leadership consultant. Damien Martin, and I don't mean the cricketer.
No,
all right,
the Wildcat.
Yeah, the Wildcat. Australian basketball legend, Damien Martin. That's happened this week, I'm
That has
assuming?
happened this week.
Okay.
I think this is part of Bob Murphy leaving. So
Right.
I think
He's gone back to Medialand.
He's gone back to Medialand,
Okay.
at this stage, I think. So Bob Murphy's gone back to Victoria with his family. And I think Damien Martin comes in, not taking all of his responsibilities, but part of it in terms of that culture side of things, the leadership side of things, which is what Damien Martin's coming in to do. A bit of the good bloke vibes around the club, just getting everyone feeling good and happy and having that sort of reflection on how their leadership style's going.
Has there been any chat about Adam Simpson making his way to Freo?
I know it had been floated around a little bit.
Because I'd heard him speak about the fact that he'd like to stay in footy, and if there was assistant coaches coaching jobs going. At this stage, I don't really see him rejoining Andrew McWalter's coaching stocks down at West Coast.
That will not be happening.
And if he wants to stay in because did Matty Boyd go home or?
Yep. So I think there's been some talk about Todd Curley going to fill that backline coach role at Freo.
From South Freo?
From South Freo, yep. Former coach there back in the day, I think under Mark Harvey, been a long-time coach in the Waffle as well. About him potentially filling that role as a defensive coach, but Adam Simpson, how would Freo feel about him going down there? Well, obviously, it's a previous relationship there with Justin Longmuir.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to and Jamie Graham, who's there as well. So it goes back to the, has Adam Simpson, does he never want to head coach again? Because I think does
he need a break from it though for a bit?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he does, but I think the dynamic would be a difficult one, given that they've all coached together before. I don't think Adam Simpson's done, but just by speaking to him.
And that kind of goes back to my point from before about if you bring someone into the club who still has aspirations and a highly touted record,
and he's a high
sitting over the shoulder of a coach who's under the pump, I don't think it's going to work all that well.
It's a good point. That's a very good point. And then I don't know if Freo are going to do too much. We've got obviously talking Shea Bolton.
Yeah, Shea Bolton's the big one for them. They've got a lot to go through.
Shea Bolton.
Hotel
I've switched off for 10 days. Shea Bolton. And so they've offered 10 and 18.
Yep.
Richmond have said, we want 10 and 11.
Yep.
I was wondering, should Freo have offered 11 and 18 and given themselves some move to go, okay, actually you can have 10 and 18.
Yeah.
It feels like 10 and 18 is the best offer that they want to give. I don't think they want to do 10 and 11.
Is that a fair offer though? That seems pretty fair to me.
Yeah, well,
10 and 18.
Well, that's what their stance will be.
Yeah.
Hey, here's our best offer.
I think they'll eventually get done.
But is that how you negotiate? Just put your best offer on the table first and say, take it or leave it?
Not usually, but they've done pretty well in this space over the last couple of years.
10 and 18, I think it's a fair offer, but I think it's a pretty good deal for Freo. It's a pretty good deal for Richmond. 2 first rounders.
It depends on how much Shea Bolton wants to leave.
Well, it seems like a lot, seeing that watching their speeches, they're doing the best and fairest.
Exactly. But so when it gets to that point,
strange.
If they're not going to go back, you can't really see him going back to play at Richmond if it's all been decided.
No.
So 2 first-round picks is pretty good going.
That gets done. He's the guy that they need and that they want.
Yeah.
And I think he's a better option than perhaps a Chad Warner in 2 years' time or next year. I will say that I said Chad Warner was going to West Coast if Sydney won the flag.
Yep.
Sydney lose the flag, so that's not happening anymore. So I was correct.
So next year, nice.
You can't tell me I was wrong.
Nice technicality. Yep, good job.
You can't tell me I was wrong.
True.
So I don't think Chad Warner to Freo makes any sense unless an Andy Brayshaw, who's we've started talking about him.
They could make room for
him. Chad Warner, of course, they can make room for him.
He would absolutely take them to another level.
Yeah, but do they need another level in their midfield?
They need more.
Brayshaw, Sarong, they need explosive.
And they need more goal-kicking mids. Hayden Young's done that
to
a good extent.
Shea Bolton.
Yeah, but he's more going to play half forward, isn't he?
If their midfield, mate, was like I don't think they have the cap space.
That's the big question. The caps are going up though, so
2 ruckman and a mill.
Yep.
I don't think Andy Brayshaw, Sarong, and Young are playing for free.
They've had a good crack at him, so I reckon they can get him in.
Who?
They put him up at Crown for a few days during the year.
Well, it can't have gone that well. He's not here, is he?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
but Freo clearly think they can fit him in, so they wouldn't be having the conversations if they didn't think they could.
Yeah, I think that goes with
Andrew Brayshaw's not signed yet. Is that definitely happening?
Well, I did run into him close enough to Motel Mexicola in Bali.
What did he tell you?
Well, look, mate, we just shared a couple of bintangs and can't really give much more than that.
What happens in Bali?
I was contacted by a Fremantle player on Instagram not long after we put that clip out and said, I'm not sure who you were with in Bali, but Andrew Brayshaw's never enjoyed a beer in his life, and that can't have been him. You must have been speaking to someone else. All right,
I don't. For the record, I don't see Andrew Brayshaw leaving.
No, neither do I.
Because he seems like a pretty strong character and pretty invested in Fremantle. But I'm just sort of spitballing around, and that's what we do at this time of year because it's trade period and everyone starts talking crazy stuff.
Well, is that a good thing? I've got on my run sheet here. I was speaking to Riley before we put this together. I said, mate, I don't really want to do that. I've got it all here, right? Dylan Shield exploring a move back to GWS, and we've got Swans rejecting North's offer for pick 63 for Luke Parker, and the mega trades and the doom trades and all of this sort of stuff. I don't really want to do that here. You can go and get that elsewhere. But is the state of what we're doing at the moment, the speculation, Chad Warner talked, Andy Brayshaw, like what we're talking about here, Do we like it? Do you like it? You've been in media a lot longer than I have. What do you think? Is it a good thing, bad thing, more eyes?
I think the AFL love it because people keep talking about the sport even though the grand final's done on the men's side of things. It probably goes for a little bit too long in terms of it goes for a week and a half and it could get done in a week well and truly and just sort of smash it all together. I think it used to go for like 2.5, 3 weeks.
When does it end? Do you know?
Next Wednesday, I think.
So we've had the free agency straight after. Yeah. And then we've had, we got 9-10 days of...
Yeah, and then there's another signing period for those to get looked over, and then we move into the draft, and then the rookie draft, and the preseason draft, and it just keeps going.
Right.
It's kind of... I think footy fans enjoy it on the whole, and we're starting to see more movement, I think, in terms of some of the bigger name players.
Yes.
Move.
That makes it more interesting when there's players on the move, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it always plays out the same way. Like there'll be a couple of deals done on the first day, which have been agreed to 6 months earlier.
Yes.
And it's just going through the motions.
Yes.
Then there's this big lull for about a week, and then everything will start to get done again next week.
Do we think these draft day deals, do we think that perhaps...
The deadline ones?
Yeah, the deadline day deals.
Yep.
Are some of them... done perhaps and we're not getting them done until the last day
100%.
and we just want to create a bit of how are you?
Yep.
There's a bit of a chat between all parties and we say, hey, this is done, but let's scurry around on draft day or
100%,
whatever it is.
100%.
Okay,
just to create the drama as it gets closer to the deadline. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? I reckon that for sure.
Yeah, okay.
For sure happens.
Okay.
There's some legitimate ones that take that amount of arguing and bartering and
yes.
A lot of them revolve around other deals getting done.
Yes.
Too. So that one deal can hold up others from actually going through. Would it be better to have a longer transfer period? So rather than having a week to do it, you have a couple of months. And it's not this intense speculation for a week. I'm not saying I'd be a fan of it, but more like other sports where you can trade and move players around over... a few months, or you've got the transfer deadlines.
Well, could we be getting towards that with the mid-season stuff that's going on now?
That's the next level
Aren't we talking about players being able to trade at mid-season?
Mid-season, yep. Again, but that would be another small window. I'm talking about over a
transfer
summer
period.
Like, could you keep this open till January, for instance, and keep making moves in case you cop some injuries or whatever?
See, that would be good
to be done. And rather than having 1 week where all the clubs are just in the room talking to each other.
It would be good, but it would be hard.
Yeah.
It would become complicated with players being, paid by the employer until January and then out the door on a different deal.
I mean, other sports do it.
That's a good point.
But I think people would probably get sick of the speculation, given we're talking about a week here, whether it would go longer. But maybe down the track, like I'm talking probably 10, 15 years' time when the money gets a lot bigger and they try to model it on some other sports, it could open up to a longer space. But at the moment, I think with the way it works, we've got a lot of dead days in terms of where nothing happens. So make them work harder rather than just sitting over there having dinner every night in Melbourne.
Will Schofield, Adam Papalia.
A couple of shelters.
Shelter FootyCast. All right, so after all that, I'm going to give you a bit of trade update this.
We hate talking about trade. But
no.
Let me tell you about these
I'm
trades.
going to give you the ones that are sort of, of note, right? So Fremantle fans, Gold Coast pick 13 and Fremantle's pick 11. Clubs are chasing those.
Yep.
So maybe, I don't know how you posture out of 11 for Freo, and that's why they want to hold on to that with Shea Bolton, but teams are coming for those. Dan Houston is holding up a lot of trades by the looks of things. Where's he off to?
Collingwood, I think.
Right. Collingwood?
Yeah.
Wasn't he in North Melbourne?
Well, North Melbourne have a better hand, but
Dan Houston...
Carlton's the other team.
Dan Houston's going to Collingwood. So this is what I mean. I don't know. Is that right? Wow.
Well, the Blues are desperately keen for him. Collingwood, he's certainly exploring.
Do you think everyone would be keen for Dan Houston, though?
Yeah.
West Coast would be keen for Dan Houston? He's an all-Australian backman.
Yeah, every single club should be. But he was wanting to go to Victoria, so finding a club around there that can fit him in.
I would love to break the code of how you... I don't know the answer here, but how you give everyone as much power as everyone. So the players right now, you say, Dan Houston wants to go to Victoria. Wouldn't it be a good thing if the clubs had just as much power as that? Like, hey, we want to trade Dan Houston to the West. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, right now, it seems like Tom Barras only go to Hawthorn and, you know, get that deal done. And Dan Houston wants to go to Victoria, you know, get that deal done.
So whenever this discussion comes up, it's about money, and that we're not quite at the level of a sport like in the US where you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars and you have absolutely no say in where you're going because
you're
being compensated to a really substantial amount. Whereas in the AFL, whilst it's very, very good, it's not quite to that level yet where you can just pick up and get moved around.
Joe Richards, who's been rumoured from Collingwood, right? Just throwing a name out there that is not right up the top end of the list of talent. Collingwood just goes to him, yeah, no worries, you want to get traded. How about you're off to Freo?
Yeah.
He's on 200 a year. 200 a year is a nice amount of money,
You'd
by the
still
way.
set your price as a player.
Yeah, I know, but it's not, you're not on 20 million a year and then you just go buy a house over on the west and you just move all your stuff over.
It's not going to get you very far at the moment.
20 mil?
No, 200 grand.
Oh, okay, sweet. I was going to say 20 mil will get you a nice little house.
You get a room in a share house somewhere at a uni.
Correct. So, you know, you just be on a normal amount of money and you move. But like, even just saying that though, perhaps, like 200 grand is a lot of money.
It
like,
is, yeah.
Like $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
No, there's not many people on that amount of money. So it's not like they're not getting paid anything. Like some of these rookie drafts and draftees, mate, I heard the other day that they're on six figures straight out of the gate.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Mate, my first deal was $42,000 and my matches were $1,000. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. And then there's the other side to the argument about, well, you should be able to choose where you work as well, like any other industry, in terms of the location of where you live and where you work if you want to do that certain job. There's not that many options out there as to where you can actually play your trade if you're a professional footballer. It's part of it, but that's where the money compensation comes in.
That is interesting. Jake Stringer's name keeps popping up. Package.
Another club?
The package wants to go to the Giants, apparently. Now, he has met with, I would say, the coaching version of the package, Adam Kingsley. So do we think that Jake Stringer at the Giants would be...
How does he fit in?
An addition to their team?
How does he fit in? So you got
Toby Green,
pretty stacked forward line.
Jesse Hogan,
Cadman, Toby Green. Cadman's up there. Does Jake Stringer add to that forward line for the Giants?
Well, I fall into line with a few other media types around Jake Stringer. Like, if he's fit and he's, you know, at his best physically, gun. And I've played on him at his best as well. But if he's not, well, he's a NEFL player. He's a VFL player that's plodding around. I actually think him to the Giants would be an addition. Yeah, I reckon him bobbing up at GWS and kicking 2 and having 10 touches would be a far bigger impact than him doing that at Essendon right now. I don't think Essendon's good enough, and they haven't been impacting games enough for him to make a difference. But to have him just bobbing up and giving you an explosive 10 minutes, like a Stewie Dew at Hawthorn type operator, and to use him in talking about physical condition. But like he at GWS are a good side, and they're just looking to get great, aren't they?
Well, they were on the precipice of it. They had both of the grand finalists on the ropes. They should have beaten both of them and been in the grand final, and would have been a real chance to take it out, but didn't quite get there. So for them, it's about just making those. When you just miss out, it's not about completely changing the whole fabric of what you're doing.
Yes.
It's about finding those little things that can just tip you over the edge to get there. And they don't need to change much because they were in winning positions in both of those games.
GWS has a few players out the door.
Yeah, Perryman,
Haynes, Peatling.
Yep. None of them are huge losses.
But they're all behind Cornelio, Kelly, Whitfield here and there, Tom Green.
Yeah.
They're all those players that are just like that depth players sort of, but they're playing every week. Like Peatling coming, Nick Hayes has been sort of in and out. It's just interesting. I always just think it's interesting if you do see a decent amount of players leaving. So why? Is it opportunity? Is it money?
Yeah. You usually see the good clubs get targeted to try to pick those second tier guys that might not be getting a regular game to go and get a better deal than what they can do right there and go. And I mean, they're lucky, the Giants. They'll just have another 100 academy kids come through and they'll just get topped up beautifully.
Don't start talking about the Northern Academies. Please don't.
I saw you blowing up about the St Kilda president.
What was that about? What was he on about,
Got
mate?
a bit of a point.
Oh, God. Like, spare me, mate. Like, do you know what I mean?
I agree,
Like,
be better as a club. But
that was just
not so much. But
did I miss the part of the speech which said that we need to get better as a football club first? Did I miss that?
I don't know. You might have. I didn't watch all of it. But
Far out.
Is a bugbear of mine. The academy's not so much, as long as everyone's got the same ability to do the same thing. The father-son rule, which
You hate the father-son rule.
it has to go. Like, I love it, but it is bullshit because look at this year. So who's the premier? Who's premier?
I don't know. Brisbane.
Brisbane. I don't know.
I've switched
How long
off.
were you in Bali for?
Sorry. Brisbane.
So Brisbane's a premier.
Yep.
Who's the best kid in the draft?
Right,
probably
Ashcroft, okay,
Levi
yeah,
Ashcroft.
okay, yep.
Where's he going to go?
Okay. Brisbane.
In what fantasy land is it that the best team in the competition gets access to the best player in the draft the next year? When you're going on about competitive balance, when you're going on about equalisation. How does that happen? And how does everyone just go, oh, yeah, well, because his dad played, this is all, let's pat each other on the back and sing Kumbaya together and get in a circle and enjoy it. And the romance of it's brilliant. And his brother just won the Norm Smith medal. How did you feel being some of the other shit clubs that have never had father-son recruits? Because it's pure luck. It's just genetics. It's just absolute lottery whether you get a player come through on the father-son. There's no way that the Premier should be getting the best kid in the draft the year after they've won the flag.
Well, then what happens?
How can you justify that?
Well, what happens when it turns to St Kilda? Like, what happens when they get...
They shouldn't get it. If St Kilda, if it ever happens they win another flag and they have a father-son pick the next year, that should not be happening.
Right.
It just...
I don't know how to argue with you.
Like,
I've tried to argue with this before, and it's not a good argument.
Everyone just goes, oh, but it's so good that he gets to play for the same club.
Does it happen anywhere else?
No. No, because it's stupid.
This is what we need out of Adam Papalia. This is good.
I went on a rant about this on Wild World Sports a few months ago for like 20 minutes.
You gave a soliloquy. Like, you gave a bloody... The intro was like...
And it was just...
16-minute intro.
Must have been having a bad day and I had to get off my chest. But it's going to happen again. And, Geelong's been a big beneficiary of it, getting father-sons through the door.
Hawkins, Ablett.
There's
more, probably.
Et cetera, et cetera. Collingwood, do they win the flag without the two Dacos boys?
I don't know.
Perhaps not.
Probably not.
No,
probably not.
Probably not.
No.
Brisbane get Ashcroft in. They get Levi Ashcroft next year. And they just get stronger. So... it's just luck. It is pure luck. Like, you can have all the strategy in the world. You have the best people in your club. But if you get a couple of kids come through that their dads happen to play footy as well, and they come through, it can completely change your list and the way you go about it.
I can't even pick you apart. This is one of the rare times I can't pick someone apart. I actually can't.
And I'm frustrated at myself for having this point of view because I love the romance of footy. You know that I do.
You hate yourself.
I get angry at myself for it because it's great to see kids coming through and playing for the club they did.
And Peter Dacos is out there with his two boys, hugging them, doing his cashies all around town.
Mate, hasn't he cashed in that?
Oh, mate. Don't worry, mate. We're talking about things I'm passionate about. It's the Dacoses. And I've never seen Peter, Josh and Nick do something separately. When have you ever seen... It's a little bit like the Mackays. Like, they may not be different people. Like, with the bobbleheads. There's two of them on the bobblehead. Peter's buddy head's poking around the corner.
Potentially, if your kids go on the father-son rule, imagine the cashies that you will have stacked up. The speaking tours, the podcasts that'll be going on. If your kids get picked up under the father-son, look, you're grinning from ear to ear, just thinking about the possibilities that this could happen.
So, yesterday, got home from Bali and the kids want to kick the footy, so I've just said, here we go. Time for West Coast into the new era. Nash and Sid Schofield. Mate, I can't argue against. The only argument I have is literally, well, I'd love to see Nash and Sid play for West Coast. And you agree. You sort of like... You knowing me, you'd be like, that's amazing. Like,
absolutely.
How good. But in terms of
everything,
equality,
look at all the rules that they are trying to put in place in the competition at the moment to make the competition even.
Okay, so what should they do? Stop it.
Get rid of it.
This year?
Well, look at what's going to happen when some of the AFLW players, if they have sons,
yes,
they will be eligible under that.
Yes.
Same as the father-daughter rule.
Yes.
So look, how much more compromised is that going to be?
Well, it's heavily compromised because I was annoyed the other day when we were commentating and we were celebrating a 25th milestone.
75th.
75th. But I'm assuming they do 25th, they do 75th?
Yep.
Yeah, so...
Well, they play 11 games.
Yes, I know, which means it's compromised. What
do you mean?
It'll be compromised if the father-son, daughter-son, daughter-daughter,
Yeah.
father-daughter...
But it'll have to come in.
Yeah, I know.
If you've got the father-son and you've got the father-daughter,
yeah, but then
the mother-son...
Yeah, but is there less... If there's a mother-son, is it for 75 games instead of...
Well, it'll be whatever's comparative. So the men play 23 games a year plus finals, and the women at the moment play 11. So it's going to be a lower threshold, clearly, but comparatively, it'll be equal to someone playing 150 games at that level. But when you get that coming in as well, once
it's going to be a shit show.
But think how many you think how fast picks are sliding at the moment with academies and things. Add in more family links.
Yeah, so I don't like that. Sydney's pick 20 is now already picked 27 before the draft's even started. We're already signed back. We have compo picks coming in, and it is an interesting.
So you're proving my argument.
I know. I'm not trying to. I'm really not trying to argue against.
And
you at
as
all.
I said, I love the romance of footy. Great stories. Love to talk them up when they actually happen. But for all of the reasons why the AFL are having big reviews at the moment into competitive balance and trying to get the fixture equal and trying to get all the clubs on a level playing field, when you have the best teams in the competition getting a free hit, and it doesn't matter how many draft points you have to give up. If you get access to the absolute top talent in the draft, that is a massive free kick.
Yes.
If you're going to burn, I don't know, even up to 10 picks if you need to.
Well, Brisbane have got
on.
that because they know this is
happening. But they knew he was coming.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So they just load up on shitty picks and burn them, which they were never going to get anyone that they really wanted anyway. And they get access above the likes of North Melbourne.
So will someone bid on Levi Ashcroft?
Is that how it works? At pick 1. Yeah.
Someone bids on him and then Brisbane go, no worries, we're going to give pick 43, 51, 79, 86, 92. Yeah, correct. For Levi Ashcroft.
Yeah, and clubs will bid early because they know that Brisbane will do that and it'll cost Brisbane the picks. But the picks are irrelevant down the track. Like, unless you can match it within the top 10 or within probably 5 picks of where he would have been, it needs to kind of get to that point if you're going to go down that route. And Brisbane would then have to trade an asset away to get Levi Ashcroft into the club if that's what they want to do. So you need to have to give something up rather than just burning picks.
I know who we're going to get on the podcast when draft time comes around because people are going to be blowing up about Levi Ashcroft and I bloody love it.
It'll happen. Everyone on draft night will be going, how the hell can the reigning premier only get stronger?
And you heard it here first on the Shout Out FootyCast. Adam Papalia, Will Schofield. All right, Paps, I've got to get to I believe it's a 75-metre running race, Nash competing. So this is the first step to father-son acquisition.
So you've had him out there in the backyard, just putting him through shuttle runs.
Mate, I was in the hallway today going, all right, mate, so when they say ready, set, and you've got to get set and then go, right? So he's running in his 75 metres at 9:35, so I'm going to run out the door.
My kids did that at the sports carnival.
How'd they go?
Went well, enjoed it, but for first year they did it.
Nash is in the B's. Nash is the worst runner ever.
You're going to have to put him through his paces then if you think he cashies.
That is poor. Poor runner at this stage.
They were going well, burst out of the blocks, leading.
Distracted.
And then just looking up, going, hi mum, hi dad, running down the thing.
That's good. Yeah, Nash is the more...
Watching the rest of the field.
Nash is more, will be on the start line and he won't even know the gun's gone. And you just be like, oh, shit. Yeah, he doesn't really
My
care.
youngest did that at the cross country. So it burst out of the blocks.
Yes.
Leading by 50 metres at the start. And someone went, well done. He's put his arms up like this 50 metres into the race, knowing they've still got another 400 metres to go. Blew up about halfway around and then came in mid.
Sounds like his dad.
It was great.
No endurance. All right.
Clearly.
Okay, just a couple of questions from our fans. I don't know what these are. I was about to say skate, perhaps. So let's just get into it. Sober Scully in the studio once again, throwing it over to proper hungover Scully and Barley. So I did a little bit of pre-recorded stuff last week and I was throwing from John Barley back to myself here in the studio. I was sober in both regards. I did not. I'm not trying to be funny. I was just I was looking after myself over there. Truly groundbreaking stuff, making this trade period worth it. And yes, as a West Coast fan, I'm seeing seething at how badly we're going to get bent over Barris and Baker. It's disheartening. That's from Romas over on YouTube. We covered that a little bit off the top.
You should do that on deadline day. Get sober Scully throwing to more drunk Scully throughout the day as we get closer to the deadline.
This is what I like about you. You can get some nice little ideas running in here. Okay, Swans getting slaughtered by 112 points to Port in round 21 was a result of the grand final. When they get attacked, they crumble. A lot of respect for John Longmire, but surely his game plan needs looking at. Can't be an A+ Scully. I gave Sydney in my episode on Monday an A+ for the year.
Yeah, that's a bit high for me.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
so you sit on top of the ladder the entire year?
The only team that should get an A+ is the one that wins the flag.
Why?
Because they won the flag.
Yeah, I understand. That's one game though. It's
a season's worth of work.
That's like doing the exams and you get 99 out of 100 for mine. And the one question you got wrong, it was a big one. Maybe it's more than worth one mark.
Maybe get an A.
Maybe an A.
Yeah, they lost the grand final and got smashed.
They were the best. It wasn't a review of the grand final. It was a review of their season.
What you reckon they're giving themselves an A+ for the year?
I reckon it'd be pretty close. Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah. Well,
they'd be giving themselves an F.
An F.
Yeah.
So every side that played in the year got an F.
No, that's
so
not
St
what
Kilda's.
That's not what I'm saying. Sydney were in an opportunity to win a grand final.
Yes.
Yeah. And they didn't do it.
And so they get an F for the season.
They would not be saying this season is a success.
I would love to. It would be good if you let kids mark their own grades, because that's how I was looking at it.
There's no way they would be saying this season was a success.
No, but I'm not asking what John Longmire thinks. I'm saying what I think. And I think it's an A+. I think that's a successful season. You don't.
How many grand finals have they lost now in a row?
Yeah, I know that's a thing.
Another smashing in a grand final.
Yeah, but that's not. I'm not grading them on their.
You don't get bonus points for coming second.
I'm not grading them. Don't come at me. You come at me more than scared. I'm not grading them on their era. It's not John Longmire's coaching career.
Yeah, but from where they were,
2024.
From where they were, sitting that clear.
So what do you give them?
Probably an A-.
An A-.
Yeah.
My God, it's a hard task.
They didn't win the flag, Scully.
So Brisbane get an A+.
Yeah. They won the flag.
Okay. And Sydney get an A-.
Yeah.
I don't agree with you. I think they both get A+.
Even take that.
2 firsts and a second for Barris. Scully, you need to get off the shrooms over in Bali. The bloke is 29, has a crook back, can't even compare to Tim Kelly age-wise. Wasn't Kelly 24 at the time? Plus, that deal was a laughing stock with what the Eagles gave up, Steve Forbes. Now, given it's coming at me, Steve, I know it was a laughing stock. West Coast was a laughing stock. They have an opportunity here. West Coast wanted Tim Kelly. They wanted him the year before. They were desperate to get him, couldn't get the deal done. Geelong knew that.
They could have just drafted him.
Yeah, correct. Thank you.
Yep.
But then Geelong knew that Tim Kelly wanted to go home. West Coast had no other options. It's the same. Yes, I understand he's 29. He's playing a different position. They don't need a Tim Kelly. They need a Tom Barris. And if they don't get him, they'll put their premiership stuff back another year. They can't just go draft a seasoned key position player, a proven key position player, a vice captain, a best and fairest winner. You can't go draft that. And if they do, I'll see you in 7 years when that defender comes up. Name to me 5 key defenders that in the first 5 years of footy have really jumped onto the scene and dominated. Like, there's not many. It takes you a long time to figure out what's going on out there. So they can either do this Tom Barris deal or they can go next year and go and get someone else. But right now, West Coast has every card they could possibly have.
They need to push for as much as they can get.
Well, he's contracted as well. It's not like...
Could you see a world where he comes back and plays, though?
Yes. See, that's the interesting thing. Knowing Tom and knowing him well, if that did eventuate, I just think he's too much of a team guy. And I don't mean looking after West Coast. I mean his teammates. If it did eventuate that he came back to West Coast, he wouldn't be able to sulk and say, oh, poor me, for his teammates. And you would get the same Tom Barris that you got this year and last year.
The other question being, is it more beneficial to West Coast to trade Tom Barris out or keep him?
it's more beneficial to trade him. And I just look at the time. I have to go. 50-metre race coming up. Will Schofield, Adam Papalia, Shelter FootyCast. We're done and dusted. Shelter FootyCast on socials. FootyCast at backchatstudios.com.au is our stuff. I don't know if we'll see you Monday. We might. It's been fun.
I don't know. I didn't know I was coming in today till a little while ago, but it's good to be here. I copped a clip last time for not being as fun as Skeet, but we got into a few issues
That was
today.
very good. I might start feeding you a few shelters before we start. Get you going. Thanks, Paps.
Thanks, mate.